Like, the reality is the thought of getting grown-ups out of junior high dynamics is a huge passion of mine, right? Like, we're now in an era where because of the advancements of technology, a lot of us put ourselves out there in a way that the generations before us didn't. You know, there was gossip in the neighborhood, but now we're playing at a world stage if one chooses to contribute to the world stage and produce content on social platforms and consume it. The reason it's so easy for me to do that in a world where so many people do it and stop, don't do it at all, is because every time I'm dealt with negative energy, comments, judgment, my brain goes to a place of empathy and compassion for the person that's doing that to me, not to a place of me being in a place that I'm feeling bad for myself. If I'm gonna feel bad for myself, it's gonna be because I'm disappointed in my own behavior and I'm the judge and the jury of that. Somebody leaving judgment on me from a place of their own insecurity or lack of full knowledge is hard for me to get going because it's not practical. I'm aware that most humans on earth live it in reverse. So the message is, once you stop feeling bad for yourself and start thinking logically, a human being took time out of their day to come to your channel and leave a comment to tear you down, to give them a micro moment of feeling better from their own pain, is not something that should put you down. It should actually make you happy that you're not doing that behavior. Right, I was always the person, long before there was an internet, in junior high and high school, who was lucky enough, back to being parented the way that I was, that I knew that I was the emotional strength for my circle. That, you know, when friends were upset that girls were dissing them, or they didn't make the team, or they got bad grades, or, you know, I grew up in very blue collar, lower blue collar than blue collar New Jersey. So a lot of my friends had parents that were abusing alcohol and drugs, a lot of like damaged homes. There was just a lot of stuff going around me, yet my home was so epic and so good. And so it was almost like this, first of all, it was in my DNA, but it was also like some level of guilt. You know, there's a part of me that was like, I have it so good when I go home, so many people around me don't, that it just kind of like, I kept kind of like leaning into it. It became my norm. And then what started happening was, so I never really, what is happening is not on my radar my entire life. Not even, when I talk to the youngsters and I say, you've got time and be patient, at 30 years old, there was never a day in my life that I thought people would know who I was. I was running a wine business. I'm a businessman. I like businessmen who I think are operators. I'm just being a businessman. I thought people in the business world would know. Like, if you owned a liquor store, you're like, oh, that guy in New Jersey's doing it. Like, so it happened. Then the wine show started on YouTube. Then I'm like, wait, I have a gift of gab. People like what I'm doing. And then it just kept happening. So somewhere around 37, 35, 36, I'm like, I want to talk about business, and I didn't even realize how much of what I thought about business was actually grounded in emotional intelligence, right? So as I'm making business videos, I'm reading the comments, and people are like, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, you don't worry about this, or you go fast because if you make a mistake, it's okay. And then I started reading the emails, reading the direct message. I'm like, wait, people are scared to fail. People are scared of this, scared of this, scared. And then I'm like, oh my God, almost everyone is based on fear. And so like then I'm just like, I have to make content about this and this and this. And so it just kind of happened. And honestly, I feel like I haven't even begun. Like, when I think about the subject matters, like the whole school thing, when I started first talking about the vulnerabilities of us binarily believing that everyone should go to college and that was happiness, that wasn't because I was a bad student and I wanted to talk about getting back at school. It was something I never thought of. It was because I was getting 1,000 emails and DMs a week from people struggling on this subject matter, or immigrant kids trying to live up to their parents' engineering and doctor goals for them when they hated it, or a million other things. So for me, it's just listening and then creating. You know, as you go through your journey, brother, you've got all your thoughts of what you want to talk about now, love and peace. Very quickly, you're going to get those things out. It's going to be the comments from the community that are going to lead to your next thoughts. so much of what I talk about is based on what people are saying to me. It starts with listening. So I feel good about it. I feel like I have a lot of love and happiness to give. And I think it's the biggest contribution humans can make to each other. I think the world right now is in a place where people that are unhappy have figured out to communicate. They can drag down others, and that's why there's so much anxiety in the world. I think the people that are happy have not figured out their personal responsibility to put out content of happiness, and I think that will be the next step. I just think I'm early, like I am in a lot of things, so I think that's what I'm doing.
Something I struggle with a lot is self-doubt, you know.
From the parents.
Not just that, but I put it on myself. Like a lot of it.
No, you don't. No, you don't. This is the number one mistake that everybody thinks. Everybody thinks that they put their own self-doubt on themselves. It's actually not how it works. Outside forces got into your head and then made you self-doubt. You think it's your voice. Nobody's voice hates them in the beginning. It's a voice that's been implanted in you, either in the beginning from your neighborhood, an outside force, often parents. And so where people get really fucked up is they think like when I talk about like don't listen to the Joneses, they're like, fuck, you know, I don't care about other people, it's that I shit on myself. And I'm trying to get people to understand, you're not shitting on yourself, you've taken on the voice of somebody from the outside. You weren't born with like, I hate me. You've taken on the voice of somebody from the outside. It's very important that you understand this. I'll tell you why. It gets a lot easier if you actually believe it and understand it, because then you can understand it versus laying there and being like, why do I hate myself? You know what I mean?
Okay.
You don't. Somebody implanted their insecurities on you. It's why a lot of people get value out of me, because through my practical optimism, not my delusional you're an 8th place trophy, but from my practical optimism, if people keep putting that voice in their ears, the reason people listen to so much of my content is I'm optimistic, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and be like, if you just wish it, it happens. And in that balance, over time, if that's what goes into your ears, then all of a sudden you start believing it. Like, I genuinely believe it. I believe that the two of us should never doubt ourselves. Why? Like, I don't understand. Like, go do and deal with the like, I think I suck at most things, but I need to go find that out for myself, not do it because I'm worried about somebody judging me on my failure. Like, this is just the way it is. I'm just really happy that you're even like that we're interacting this much, because like, honestly, you know, it's funny. I just want people to listen to me as much as possible until they don't need to listen to me, and then I don't want them to listen to me at all. More importantly, listen to me, this is binary. You need to act, if you use this time that we've interacted, this time, to understand that any level of self-doubt or insecurity that you have in your head is literally been put inside of it, and it's not you doing it to you, it will change your fucking young life.